In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a really cool PaperCraft toy. It's a toy that already exists. Have you ever heard of a pill? The pill was made by Terra Kendama, and it's essentially ball and cup, or more like peg and hole. One side is half of a pill shape with a hole in it, and the other is the second half of the pill shape with a spike in the center. And this toy is one of my favorite toys, so I decided to make it out of paper. All of my PaperCraft toys are free, and you can find them at playaccess.com under the PaperCraft section. All you need to do is download it, get it printed, cut it, construct it, and play with it. So you'll definitely need some scissors, a razor blade, and a string to connect the two halves. Now, when I first made this, I wasn't too good at 3D modeling. I'm just starting out with 3D modeling, so I'm completely a noob to it. My first pill design, as you can see, looks a little bit long. At the time, I couldn't tell on the computer, but I printed it out anyways to test. And I ended up with this shape, which is really close, but it's a little bit too tall. Everything else about it seemed to be perfect, but I had to go back to the drawing board. I reworked the file, tweaked it a little bit, made it the right shape by measuring the jumbo pill, and then took those measurements and flipped them over into the program so that I could take my first pill design and make it proportional to the jumbo pill. And I ended up with this. Now this is spot on exactly what I wanted. It's the same size almost as a jumbo pill, and it has the same proportions, so it plays very similar to the pill. In all honesty, this thing feels like you're playing with a real Kendama toy. It's got really flat edges, so it doesn't do the same as the pill, and this you have to kind of work around, but you can also stall it in different ways, but it plays just like a real pill. So after I was confident in the toy design and the pill was working out just the way I wanted, I slapped a skin on it and made the official version. It's got two parts, part A and part B. Part A is the one with the spike, and part B is the one with the hole. Now, you can do either of these first, but I kind of like starting with the hole because it's much harder to do. This one ends up to be easier because there's nothing you're dealing with on the inside of it. And the instructions are at the top corner of each page. A black line means you cut it. A dotted line means you fold it down. A dash dotted line means you fold it up. And a red line means you score it. So with that being said, you need to cut these out. Now that you've cut out as much as you can with your scissors, it's time to score and cut the smaller parts. Now you can see that there's some parts that I didn't cut out with the scissors. If you think you can, go ahead, but these are very small places to cut, and it's best to use a razor blade. In these areas, using scissors could possibly tear the paper, and you don't want that to happen. And also, if you notice, some of these have some gray dotted lines in the background. Now, this is optional. This is a prong tab where you fold in the sides, and if you want every single tab to be that way, you can. But this right here, as you can see, is a very small, like, stab prong tab that kind of wedges itself in. And you have 3 of those, and then 3 prong tabs. So if you want, you could have 6 prong tabs. And that just gives it a little bit more durability, especially if you don't want to use tape during this process. Before you start scoring these lines and cutting these out, you can do it on a wooden table, but you will damage it. So you're going to need something like a metal surface or glass. And in my case, a mirror works just fine. Now, a quick tip on these parts. These guys right here, you don't have to cut out each little hole. This is for the string on the inside so that you don't tear the wall of the toy. This helps protect it. Now, a quick tip to get this done fast is you can just poke a hole through this. You could take something like a screwdriver or a skewer and just push it into the carpet, it's a good way to put a hole through all of them and then line up pretty easily. So now that you've got most of it cut out, it's time to cut the rest out. And this part can be pretty tedious, and you need to be careful because you don't want to make any mistakes. So be careful when you do this part. Now that you've got all of it cut out and scored, make sure you've cut everything in there, because you don't want to start building this and get to a point where you go, oh no, I forgot to cut this or score that, because you'll get yourself in a pretty sticky situation. So you want to make sure that everything's cut, everything's scored, and ready to go. If you decided to keep the prong tabs on all of these, don't worry. You can always snip these off and turn them into these. It's an option, and sometimes you need to. Now, I try to make all these paper toys without the need of tape, but these are very small parts, and sometimes you need tape to just be extra hands in a way. It doesn't hurt to have a roll of tape handy. Now, since you've got it all cut out, now you can pick these up and fold them by hand if you want, but you need to be careful, and you need to make sure that the folds are on the dotted line. If you're not comfortable with folding, you can always use the edge of a table. As long as you line up the 2 points where you fold, it helps to create a 90-degree so that you can finish the fold. You can also use a ruler and do the same thing as a table, picking both points and folding it. Folding it by hand is okay. If you're not comfortable with getting a straight line, using the edge of the table is best. So with those tips being out the way, you've got to fold all these and get it ready for construction. Now that you have it all pre-folded, you're ready for the next part, putting it all together. Now, you can do either part first, but I like doing the one that goes inside, the whole side, first because it's harder. So before you start putting this together, you want to make sure that your string is set up. You're going to want to go through the string hole and put this guy through. Now right here, you want to make a pretty fat knot so that it doesn't go through this paper holder, and that is on the inside, and that's what keeps the string connected. When you do the second half, you're gonna have to decide how long this is because you can't redo it. So once you have this string set up and ready to go, you're ready to put this part together. You're gonna want to start with the hole first because you want to put that into the surface, then you have this part completed, then you can build around the body. So you want to fold these in through these tabs right here, just like so. Now once you have this part in, if you want, you can just reinforce it with a piece of tape to make sure that it doesn't pop out. Now this part, you're going to want to put this in here while simultaneously putting each prong through these gaps. And it's good to have like an X-Acto blade or some kind of tool, because when you fold these down, you can use the razor blade to kind of open these up a bit, because you're going to want to have the space to wiggle them in. So prepping them in this way really helps. Now you've got the first half of your whole part complete. You want to move on to this part. You build both at the same time, and this is very difficult. It's going to require patience, and you just need to be real steady and slow with it to make no mistakes. So you can start with the bottom part right here. And remember, opening all these holes can really help while you're putting it all together, because they're not technically open yet. When you fold it, it kind of creates this weird crease in it, so you kind of want to wiggle them open. Once you get these in, I recommend putting some tape down. It's not going to make the toy look great, but it's going to keep those in there, and they won't pop out during the rest of this. The last thing you want is these things to come out while you're putting the others together. So just putting some tape there really helps. Now once you have part of it going, you want to start putting these in. So as you go, you slowly put these all in, and it's pretty tough. This is not an easy toy to make. This part is really hard. Now that you have this half done, which I think is the hardest part, you can move on to the next part. And just like this one, you want to put the string in first. You're going to want to put the string through here, and this is where you want to make sure you have the right size string length you want. You can do it any size you want, but this is the only time you have to size it, because after you string this up, you can't restring it. And once again, you make a big fat knot, and you're ready to put the second half together. Now this part is easier because you're not dealing with something obstructing your way on the inside of it. This is just the spike. So you want to put these two pieces together. And you're going to want to open up these because all 6 pretty much have to go in at the same time. Now that you've got your spike on the surface, it's time to build the body. And just like before, you want to open these up before you start putting this together. Once you get part of it in, you just want to tape it all up to make sure that those little prongs don't pop out, because they can and they will. Once you get part of the body made, you need to start putting in the spike. And after tedious, meticulous construction, you have a paper pill. Now this thing can play just like the real deal. Let me get up and show you.
because it's poisonous.
So as you can see from the video, this thing shreds just like a real pill. It has all the same tricks, all the same moves. Now, I didn't put any napkins inside of this because it plays well on its own, but if you do want some more weight, you can put napkins inside of it before you finish closing it up. That'll add some more weight to it so it's easier to play with. Now this is the skin that I put on it, but remember, you can always go and download the blank templates. You can either make one just out of paper, or you can put your own graphics on it and build your paper pill with your own style onto it. And once again, these are free on the website playaccess.com. All you need to do is go to the website, go to the PaperCraft section, download these templates, go to a print shop, have them print them out on 12 by 18. I'm using 120 pound paper, matte. You can use gloss, but when you fold gloss it cracks on the edges, and matte seems to work a little bit better for that. So they're essentially free other than the printing. I can't imagine it costing you more than a couple bucks to get these printed. And I want to stress this. If you've never played with the pill and you download this and you make it and you really enjoy it, please go to Terra Kendama and support them directly. This is not my invention. I made the paper version of it, but the pill is a super fun toy made from wood by Terra Kendama. And if you enjoy these, please go support them. But this is a good way for you to make a free toy to test it out. It's a super fun activity putting it together, and then once you're done, you have a full-on skill toy ready to be played with. So remember, playaccess.com, check the PaperCraft section.